stuff that's in classic varnish, so you can't find much varnish anymore. But I can still get this one locally at Rockler. Here's some Rockler tung oil. This is 100% tung oil. Apparently some tung oils are actually a little bit of a varnish tung oil mix. So I've used this and I've used Minwax tung oil, and I haven't noticed any difference between the two, so probably either one is okay. Boiled linseed oil, you can get this at Home Depot. And then this first coat, we're gonna thin it down a little bit so it really soaks into the wood well. So we're gonna add some lacquer thinner for this first one. And this is an oil, like a penetrating finish, so as you apply it, it actually soaks into the wood, which is really great. So in the future, if this gets some use and gets dented, that dent isn't gonna all of a sudden be bright, unfinished wood. It's soaked all the way in, so it's gonna be this color pretty much forever. And then over here, we just need something to mix it in. So this is gonna be my little Tupperware mixing bowl, and you can get these little Glad disposable ones, work great. And then just a cup for measuring. As we pour each component in, we're gonna pour it into the same level in the cup because it's gonna be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And then little stir sticks. And you want something for your hands. These are nitrile gloves. You can't use latex. The lacquer thinner especially sort of eats through the latex and it'll kind of expand on your fingers and start falling apart. And I think there's something else, maybe it's in the varnish, that also would do that even if you didn't have the lacquer thinner. So stick to nitrile. Nitrile is good to go. For the wood, preparation for the wood is, this is sanded to 220. This is some Sapelli. Sanded to 220. The edges, I broke the edges with a little bit of 220 to get them just a little bit rounded, not so sharp. And they're sitting on these. These are little painter's triangles. Just kind of hold it up over the table. And then under the wood here, this is just butcher paper. You can just get this at the grocery store. Freezer paper might be called. And this is shiny side up. So any finish that drips on it will just kind of pool on here and dry, and it'll just wipe right off. Keeps the my bench protected. Okay, let's get mixing these here. Okay, let's start here with our varnish. You might see if once you open this and you use it and then you store it again, next time you open it, it might be like a weird film kind of formed on top. I didn't get a film in here because I used this stuff. This is Bloxygen, and you can get this, I think I got this on Amazon. And right before you seal up the can, you sort of spray some of this in here, put the lid on, and then it forms a little layer so that the oxygen doesn't get in there, oxidize it, and form that film on top of the varnish. So just spray some of this in each time you open this up and close it again. And I don't know if you can see that, but it looks pretty good. So I'm just going to stir it to make sure everything is all mixed up well. Looks good. Sometimes if it settles, this bottom half of your stick here will be a lot darker because of the stuff that's settled on the bottom. So if you see that, just keep stirring. I'm going to take my little improvised measuring cup here. And we're going to put in, so the trick with this is how much to put, especially the first coat, because the first coat's going to soak in a ton, and you're probably going to need more than you think you're going to need. Subsequent coats are just going to sit on top, and they're going to go real easy. You're not going to need much. But for this first coat, I'm going to say maybe half of this cup. So remember, third. So by the time you fill this up half, you're really going to get a cup and a half of total finish. Plus, we're going to add another third, basically, of lacquer thinner. So I guess it's really a quarter. But we talk about it's a third, plus a third for lacquer thinner. And I got this formula, actually this is my first woodworking course I took up in Orange County with William Ing. William Ing Woodworks up in Orange County. So he had us do this as our first finish, and I've used it ever since because it's amazing. There's that, and then get my lid, my Bloxygen. And normally this comes with a stick, but I lost the stick here. I'm going to do the tongue oil. Let's see if this cap sticks. This cap is sticking. The tongue oil cap will stick pretty well here. There we go. And since this is the pure tongue oil, I don't think there's anything to separate, so I've never had a problem with this one settling or anything. So I'll do about another half. side. This one's sticking too. And depending on how old this can is, you might have some dust and stuff over here, so just make sure you wipe that down so none of it gets in your finish there. And again, we'll do another half. And so again, for future coats, 2, 3, 4, however many you add, this is all you do and you're done. But for this first coat, I'm going to add the lacquer thinner. And we'll do another half. And this really helps the first coat really soak into the wood well, because it's nice and thin. You'll see sometimes you put the first coat on, and depending on how the pores in the wood through, by the time you put it on, you flip it over, you actually see some of it already peeking through the other side because it's soaked all the way through. Follow those channels through the wood there. So I don't know if you can see this, but you'll see as when you first pour it in, there's lots of pattern and texture and striations in here until it mixes. So you just want to kind of stir until it's just one solid color, look, feel. And generally, if you're going to do this, I would try to mix this and then apply it within the same day, especially the lacquer thinner, the thinned version, because the lacquer thinner will start to separate out over time. So I usually prepare this, hours before I'm going to apply it. But I wouldn't do it now and then wait a month, because it'll separate and start drying out, and it'll be useless. You have to toss it. Pretty good. I don't see any different kind of colored divisions or anything in there anymore, so I think that's nice, one solid chunk now. You see it's got a nice amber color, and that really, when you put that on the wood, it really warms that wood up. Looks beautiful. All right, so there's that. If you do need to store it, you can get a lid. So lots of times your Tupperware right now come with lids, so you can just put these lids on them, but they're not always, they're not going to be airtight. It'll be airtight-ish, but not enough to preserve that finish. It'll start getting pretty gross. All right, let's get ready to apply the first coat here. Be right back.